Welcome in. Good to see you all. Hi, hi. Yes, good evening. Good evening. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, good to see everybody. I should be set for just regulars, everyone. So I shouldn't be on subscribers only. Hopefully, everyone can see. Hello, Betharoni. Yay. Good to see you. Welcome back. Yes, hello, hello. Hi, Kiki. Good to see you too, Rachel. Yes, the Care Bears. I think we need more. This is just a notebook. Not, it had some. Oh my gosh, I love the colors, right? So I think we all need to have some fun colors. Hi, John. Hi, Fancy. Dolores. I'm doing okay. I'm on the mend. I'm on the mend. Hello, Elizabeth. Yes, I've got my wintry nails on. So, and I do have a throat lozenge. So I apologize. I'll try to keep that down on the ASMR scale, but we do need some cheer. I know. We shouldn't be sub only, John. Hopefully everyone's okay and can come in and can ask questions. I should have it all turned off, hopefully, but hello, Nancy. Roseless? Oh my goodness, that's a fun name. I love it. Hello, you got your main account back. Oh, Kristen, I'm so happy to hear that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's stressful. That's been really stressful. There's some changes that come in, everyone. Here. There will be some changes coming. Oh, love the camera. Yes, yes. We got to have a little bit, right? Got to have a little bit of joy. Illusion of choice. Hello, welcome. Tay, good to see you. So I would just hop on a few minutes before my normal time to give everyone a chance to get their notifications and say hello. So, hello, hello, hello. Hello, hi, Willie B. Yes, I mean, come on, right? We've had a rough, it's been a rough couple of weeks. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, yes, I'm glad to be here too. All right, thanks. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yes, well, it's been busy, everyone. Now, one of the things that I've seen a lot of talk about has been what the cabinet's going to look like, and so for me, I've just kind of forced myself to wait until they're actually confirmed before I start going into cabinet stuff. So I'm waiting a little bit for that, but we do have other fun things we can talk about. Well, Maura, we've got multiple topics tonight. First, we got to get our holiday calendar together, which we've done last year. So this is our annual thing, I believe. Then I've got a couple of updates for everybody, a few cases to take a look at. And then, of course, we always have P25. So it's going to be kind of a whole bunch of different things. It should be really good. You have a list? Yes. Yes. Well, yeah, I tell you what, though, everybody, it seems like he just went through people. He goes through people relatively quickly. And so for me, I want to just kind of wait until I know for sure who it's going to be, or at least close. So I made some bingo cards so we can add the names in. And I tell you what, why don't, since everyone's kind of coming in here, maybe we can, we'll use pencil maybe. Oh my gosh. Yes. So since I'm still, I'm quite a bit early tonight, so maybe we could add a few names in. Do we know who some of the people are then that he is going to be putting in so far? Yeah, it is. It's a lot. 15. So we have the Department of Labor. I'm not sure if he has anybody for that or not. Next is the Department of State. Not sure about that one either. The DOT. And then the Department of the Treasury, probably the most like this is the one after we get out of the White House, this is the next one in line of succession, which I thought was interesting. And then we have the last one on the end, which is the Bureau of Veterans Affairs here. So we've got those. Yes, labor is here. Do we have an idea of who he is putting forward for labor? Because I can just pencil it in. That'd be fun. You can just get it started. Tom Barrack or Barack, Tom Barack as ambassador of something. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so much fun. I mean, it's bittersweet. Oh my gosh, yeah. So here again, there's 15 positions total. And next I've got Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce here, which, I'm going to put a little star here because I think some people get a little bit mixed up when we talk about when we go in and talk about martial law and who can declare it and how it can be declared. So it's a little bit stressful, but the Department of Commerce is one of the justifications that presidents have used in the past to allow them to, put martial law forward. Although it doesn't really happen anymore. The Supreme Court's like, knock it off. Who gets the free space? That's a great question. Oh my gosh, that's a really excellent question. Oh, yes. Hello. Good evening. So I know a lot of people have been really worried about this martial law situation, but there are so many cases out there explaining, the president can't just take over. Can't just do that. So that's comforting as long as we know what the rules are. And then on the back, I've got Department of Energy here, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Housing and Urban Development. So there's that. Department of Interior, which, when was that? 1849 was this one. And then the Department of Justice over here. Okay, Lori Chavez de Rimmer for Department of Labor. Okay, well, we'll just put Lori down. If you've got two last names, I'm only gonna do one name. We'll put Lori down for Department of Labor. Is that right? Call it free space. Oh, that's so funny. Well, what you do to, how we can play is that we've got each department and up to 5 people, except our free space here. So whenever they get fired, then we'll put an X through it. And then we'll go to the next one and we'll see which department has the most people fired. I thought that would be really fun to do, right? I wasn't prepared last time when he was in office. I would have, had I known, I would have prepared it. So yes, once everyone gets approved, Ben Carson again. Is he bringing Ben Carson back? Are you sure? I don't know. I don't know if Ben Carson's coming back. Oh my gosh. So we'll just have to keep track and follow along and see how it goes, because that's one thing that I have no doubt will be happening again, is that people will get into positions, then they will annoy him, and then he will fire them. Oh my gosh. You want the Department of Treasury? Yeah, I'm not sure Ben Carson's coming back. I'm not sure. So he's not qualified. Well, I'm not sure that really matters. So, no, we're just chit-chatting, everybody, before I get started. I came on just a little bit early tonight, so we still have a few more minutes to kind of chit-chat before I dive into our business that we can get into here. So, before we have a blackout, well, yeah, I mean, these were just a very typical one here, but now some of the ones in P25 that are really, really the big questions are Homeland Security. They're trying to change like everything in that. And then the Department of Education. So those are the two that are probably taking the biggest hits in P25. Of course, there are tons of other things that they want to have changed in all of these departments, but these are the two that are really going to be cut quite a bit. Brooke Rollins for agriculture. All right. Well, let's find, um, let's see. Hold on. Is that, okay, let me see. I don't think we have a Department of Agriculture um, in the cabinet. So, and something that's, oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay. What was the name again? Sorry. You're right. Oh, Brooke. Okay. Let's put Brooke down. So what's really interesting, if you try to look up and see, well, how many federal agencies are there? It's actually, nobody really knows, which I think is hilarious, because if you go to all different websites, they have different numbers of what's all included and which ones are not. I mean, the Department of Justice with the FBI and the CIA and all of that, like, you can count those out, but there are all of these like sub offices. So people are like, what? Okay, so Department of Treasury, let me just make sure here, is going to be, we're just going to use first names, everybody, all right? Let's just use first names. We don't need to have their full legal names until they get charged with a crime, right? Agriculture? Oh my God, John. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's so funny. All right. So Department of State is probably, like, this is all of the foreign affairs in here. So whoever's going to be dealing in foreign affairs will be in the Department of State. And then, of course, DOT here. And then Veterans Affairs, which I don't think we know yet either. Commerce, Department of Defense, or the DOD. This is a really big question mark right now. Department of Education had like DeVos, I think, last time. And then Homeland Security here. Is it that one, what's his name? Like Stephen Fry or something like that? I think he might be doing Homeland Security. I cannot remember. Christy Noam. Really? Okay. All right. Christy. We're just going to use first names here. Christy. Excellent. So, right. So again, everybody, all of these positions, he can pick who he wants, but then they have to be approved through Congress, of course. Now, the whole goal, in case anyone has forgotten, the whole goal of the cabinet is they basically report to the president what's going on in all of these different areas. So they go out into, their offices, like at the DOT, and they're like, what's going on? And then they go and they brief him about it. So for Mr. Trump, I'm assuming briefing means like big pictures with arrows on them. Oh, my goodness. So they just kind of report back to him. So although they are head of each of the departments, their roles are relatively limited, but they definitely have some authority when it comes to who they're going to keep and who they're going to let go of. So, that's one of the big pieces for that one. So, you know what I'm saying, everybody. Seriously, you know what I'm saying. Oh, my goodness. I tell you what, the next few years are going to be very interesting. All right. Well, we're almost at 7 o'clock Central, which is when I try to start. I know I'm making a comeback here. I've had a pretty nasty cold, so have not been able to talk for very long. But tonight, I thought we could just go through a few things to kind of catch up, and then we'll keep going after that. Love the nails. Oh, thank you so much. Probably even worse now. Well, I think all of us are a little bit worse for wear now than we were 4 years ago. But we'll see. Pop-up pictures. Oh my gosh. All right. So the first thing, everyone, that I try to do every year, and I'm a little bit behind again due to illness, is that I try to poll everybody and see what holidays everybody celebrates in December, because there's so many. And I think it's so fun to be able to take a look and acknowledge, woohoo, that's exciting and that's fun. And I think it's so fun to be able to take a look and acknowledge, woohoo, that's exciting and that's fun. So I do like to label that out. So I do have Christmas here, right? Christmas is the 25th. And then we should have some other dates in here. Anybody? Okay, when's Kwanzaa, Hawk? When's Kwanzaa? I've got the 24th. Is Kwanzaa always after Christmas into January? I was wondering about that. Yes, here I am. Solstice is the 21st. Okay, here we go. Solstice. So that's a good one. It's the last week. So Kwanzaa is the last full week. When's Bunker Day? That's funny. So does it start on the 23rd or the 30th for Kwanzaa? I don't know. Oh, Bunker Day. We're going to have to pick one for that. So funny. Oh, your birthday was the 1st? Okay, Casey, let's just put that down. Casey's birthday, everybody. Casey's B-Day. Celebrate. Okay, 26th through 31st. All right. I got you now. I got you. Okay, Kwanzaa here, and then we'll just do this, and we'll go through to the end of the month. We love it. Right. I think it starts on the 26th. Okay. We got it. Excellent. Yes, so I've got Christmas here. I've got solstice here. Let's see what else. We should have Hanukkah in here, right? Hanukkah starts on the 25th. Is that when it starts? Hanukkah. Yeah. Is it? Okay, Hanukkah is the... Steffi, you just left me hanging there. My goodness. Okay, Hanukkah is the 24th. The 24th, and then it goes for a week, right? Is that right? The 26th also, right. Okay, so... Oh my gosh, everybody. The 25th through the 2nd for Hanukkah? Is that right? Oh my goodness. Yes. Oh, it's 10 days. Oh my goodness. Oh, for goodness sakes. How could I have missed that? Okay, the night of the 20th. So Hanukkah starts on the 25th. Is that what we're saying here? Is that what's being said? Hanukkah starts on the 26th. So midnight. All right, here we go. We're going to go, and I'm going to spell it right. Hanukkah, spelled incorrectly, and I'm sorry. Let me put a little smiley face here. Sorry for my misspelling. Okay, we got it. All right, so Hanukkah, with the atrocious spelling, but I apologize. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, so Hanukkah's going here. Excellent. Now, who has the date for the goat day? I'm not sure if 2Ks, thank you. I'm not sure. Sue's last year was all about the day of the goat or the goat day. Is that right? Oh, thank you, Teresa. Okay, Hanu. Oh my gosh, let's just redo it. Hanu. We got to learn, right? Hanu, K-K-A-H. All right, there we go. How's that? Better? Hanukkah, and it starts Christmas night at midnight, so the 26th. Okay, we got it. It's 8 days, not 10. Oh my gosh, everybody. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. All right. I'm so sorry that I don't know. Oh my gosh. All right. All right, well, Hanukkah, let me put a dreidel. Here we go. We need to be respectful. I totally respect the holiday. I can't spell it. There we go. Spin it. Spin the dreidel. Yule's the 21st, right? So solstice, or we'll call that also, put Yule in there. Sundown, and it's 8 days. Okay, so let's make sure we have 8 days on here. We don't want to forget that. When is Festivus? Now that I don't know, but are there other holidays? Isn't there a C in the beginning? Oh, that's another one. Because you're supposed to be, it's this really robust pronunciation, like Hanukkah, right? And then that C is right in front of it. I'll put a little C there out of respect. Boxing Day is the 26th, right. So let's get that in there. Boxing Day. And then... Okay, Festivus is the 23rd. Okay, here we go. Festivus. And then we have it, right? We still don't have the goat day. Somebody tell Suze to tell us when the goat day is. That's like a big one. It's National Lager Day. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's getting out of control. All right, we're rolling. We're rolling. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's all right, Spoonie. I came on early to give everyone a chance to have the notifications go off. So that's so funny. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, we're missing a couple, I think, but we've got Kwanzaa, we've got Christmas, we've got Festivus and Hanukkah here, solstice and Yule. So I think we hit got solstice here. I think we hit the majors. I mean, that doesn't sound quite right though, because of course I don't think there is is there anything for Islam or Buddha or Confucius? I don't know that they have specific December celebrations. Saturnalia? When's that? I don't think. I mean, we should, represent, but I'm not sure. Where's Bob? Murray. No, Murray. All right, we've got New Year's Eve here. New Year's Eve. Oh my gosh. Okay, December 6th is St. Nick. All right, St. Nick Day. That's important. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, Christmas Eve. Yes. Oh, I should have put that in there, right? Christmas and then Eve. Here we go. That's important. So Wally's Hindu, but more towards Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm wondering because I know that there's a ton of amazing holidays here. My nails, everybody has requested. There are a ton of really fun holidays, but I wasn't aware of any in December. Libertation, what? What? National Bacon Day, yes! Let's put that in there. National Bacon Day. But I'm glad, well, wait a minute. That's right, the middle of Hanukkah. I don't know about that one. I'm not sure. We'll put it down, but I understand that may have some conflicts here. Your Buddhist statue's wearing a Santa hat. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, that's the funniest thing ever. Oh, all right. All right, 17th through the 23rd. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll just abbreviate it to SAT. We'll have to look it up. Now, I'm going to need to go back and I'm going to need to ask Sue. To ask Sue's when Goat Day is. We'll have to add that to the calendar here. So, all right. Well, everybody, I think we've got a really good start here for our holidays. So this should be fun, just giving a heads up to everybody. This is a great, oh, she said it's in May. What? No, that's not true. No. Last year, I remember thinking, you know what, Suze, I haven't celebrated Goat Day. Oh my goodness. So I think it's always fun to have a big bunch of celebrations for all of the different places and belief systems. I think that's just great. So a big bunch of celebrations for all of the different places and belief systems. I think that's just great. So if a big bunch of celebrations for all of the different places and belief systems, I think that's just great. So if nothing else, we can celebrate, the spirit of the season, right? So we love that. You're looking for goats. I know it's Swedish, I swear. I can't remember. Oh my gosh. Eggnog Day? Oh my goodness. Oh, really? Okay, Goat Day. Well, I'll have to make a note, everyone. I'll be looking up Goat Day. So let's go ahead and dive in. Thank you so much, everybody, for, yes, National Bacon Day. That's right. Although conflicting with Hanukkah. So, I'm trying to be respectful here. So a couple things. Let me update you on what's going on. So the Georgia RICO case, everybody, the oral arguments were supposed to have been on the 5th, but the Court of Appeals has put this out. Court of Appeals for the state of Georgia listed out all of the people involved here and says the oral argument scheduled to take place on the 5th is hereby canceled until further order of the court. So we do not know when the oral arguments are going to be. All right. So that's a little bit of of a bummer, because if we're not on the schedule, things take a lot longer. So I do not know what's going to be happening then with the Georgia case. So Mark Meadows was not allowed to have his case go up to the Supreme Court. They've denied him the right to say this is a federal situation. That's been denied. But again, here's the Court of Appeals, and they have kicked it out. So I don't know. It's kind of, floating in the abyss at this time. There are so many people. Hold up, everybody. I'm going to show you the mugshots, okay? There we go. Hi, Orange. There are so many people involved. Now, rumor has it that Mr. Cheesebro has said, I want to go back on my plea agreement. I want to take it back because, I didn't realize blah, 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 blah. So, and that's, I think, a really good lesson to know and to learn is that, once you enter into a plea agreement, unless it's under duress or some illegal reason, you can't just take it back, right? It's not like a sweater that doesn't fit. So, not allowed to take it back, but he's asking about it. And quite frankly, again, I think, in my opinion, I would have absolutely advised my clients to have taken a plea. These 4 got really good plea deals and knocked it out rather than having to sit here and watch it go on and on and on. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. No update yet on his sentencing. Not as of today. I don't have anything on his sentencing yet. So, but again, I remind everybody his civil cases are still going at this point. We have, of course, the Blessing Game case, and they just had, last week, they had a couple of things that they were filing for it in the Blessing Game civil case on January 6th, right? So the civil case, that they are starting to get ready to start arguing immunity in that case. So we're going to see that happen. That case, again, is still ongoing, and the Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit was not appealed by Mr. Trump. He could have appealed that to the U.S. Supreme Court. He did not. So that decision holds, and that is a really important decision, the Blessing Game case, because it sets out more information on this idea of presidential immunity. So that has been set out in the Blessing Game case, which is great. And I think the civil case will be establishing quite a bit of precedent. So that will be really helpful in the future for any other kind of immunity issues that are going to be coming up. St. Lucia's Day is the 13th. Oh my gosh, maybe that's what I was thinking of. What would I think? Is St. Lucia a goat? Is she a goat? I don't know. Oh my goodness. I knew Sweden had something in here. Now I feel terrible. That is not the goat day. I think it's like I don't know where I'm getting the goats from, everyone. I'm struggling. Right. With the damages for officers and various people that were involved in that. So can I Google EO 13848? Do you want to just tell me what it is? Or if you've got it at your fingertips, is that something that you are interested in? That particular executive order? For some reason. Yule Day is the same as solstice. Love it. Okay. Right. It's about the elections. Like, which elections? Like, I have all of the executive orders here. So again, you got to be a little, I don't have the numbers memorized, but we'll have to see as time goes on. Yeah, the elections, we should be good to go. I mean, all of our election stuff has been turned in. And then, of course, we have the final electors set out. When was it? Have they already been set out or not? I'm not sure. But the timing on it should be coming up. So with that, we've got Blessing Games still going. Ascertainment's tomorrow. Okay, thank you, VC. I was like, I knew it was sometime this week, but I wasn't sure which day. So that will be finalized then tomorrow, as according to the statute, to the law. So, right, Blessing Game is still going. The other cases too, we've got, I was looking through this just the other day. We have the E. Jean Carroll cases are still going, everybody. The E. Jean Carroll case, number 1 was for $5 million. Number 2 was $83.3 million. Those judgments are still going. The Letitia James case, right? The New York fraud case, 364 million. That case is still going. What else do we have here? Oh, we've got Grant versus Trump, which is a copyright case that's still open. Isaac Hayes Enterprises, another copyright case, is still open. Trump versus the members of the Pulitzer Prize Committee, that one is still going. And the Trump v. CNN was dismissed. So this is where Trump sued CNN, and it was dismissed with prejudice. So that one's out. Next one that's still up is Trump versus ABC. That's where he sued George Stephanopoulos because of language that was used. He used the R word instead of the SA word, I guess, so whatever. Let's see, what's this? A class action pyramid scheme set for trial in January. Oh, yeah, it was dismissed. Oh, that's a bummer. That would have been really interesting. So that's Doe versus Trump Corporation. And then we have Lee versus Trump, which is part of the Blessing Game case. So Blessing Game is actually a set of multiple cases, multiple civil cases put together. They're all kind of, oh my gosh, Hitch, there are a ton of cases, and those are just the big ones. Those are just the big ones I'm keeping my eye on. There are a ton of other cases. Yeah, and I think a lot of people forget that, and, you know, because it's not as huge of a deal, depending on it, imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in U.S. election. Okay, interesting. We'd have to show what that interference was, so we would still have to go through litigation for that, I'm assuming, on that particular one. But if the Supreme Court's giving immunity, how can any of the cases move forward? Okay. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk to everybody about tonight a little bit. So I've got a few things to kind of go over with everyone. So here's our holiday calendar. We'll put that to the side. Thank you, everybody, for helping. Appreciate that. Appreciate that quite a bit. So we do have that update that I just gave you then on Georgia. And so let me get out here. Uh-oh, where'd I put it? My desk is a mess now, everybody. Yikes. Got to get myself sorted out. Let's see. Articles of Confederation. No, that's not what we're looking for. Ooh, this case was decided by the U.S. Supreme Court today. But that's not the one I was looking for. New York closing statements. That's not it. Department of Homeland Security. No, that's not it. Where was it? Hold on, I'll find it, everybody. I'll find it. I'm digging. Oh my gosh, I'm digging. Where is it? Where'd it go? Oh, here we go. Okay, here it is. Here it is, everybody. Trump versus United States. Oh my gosh, I really need to get myself sorted out. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, here we go. I think I got myself sorted out a little bit. One of the things that I wanted to, it was super cool. I love it. One of the things I wanted to talk about with everybody tonight is presidential immunity. All right, because I'm getting so many questions and comments saying, you know, none of it's going to work. Everything's done because he's got presidential immunity. But we have some problems. He still has some things he has to do. All right. So this is the case, right? Trump versus United States. And again, I've said this once before, and I'll say it again. I think this case was decided terribly. I think the way that they analyzed this was incorrect, but, you know, it's what we have right now. So within this case, what they're stating is that Article 2 of the Constitution vests executive power in a president of the United States here. And then they're setting out exactly what those duties are. So I thought I would, it's only a couple pages, and I thought I'd go ahead and read through the overview, the summary, and then we could kind of talk about it for a few minutes so we can really nail down this immunity question. So we don't have so many people just thinking like, it's unlimited. Did he sign the security documents? Not sure. Not sure at this point if he did or not. All right, so let me just get my sticky note going here. So this is the Trump immunity case here. U.S. This is immunity. And again, I'm just going to go through the summary, and then we'll do kind of a Q&A after that so we can clear it all up for everybody exactly as best as we can. So, let me grab my pen. Oh, is it time for the Christmas pen? Look at that. Is it time for the candy cane? I've been waiting. Here's the candy cane. Oh, my goodness. All right, here we go. Here we go. Hi, Mary. Good to see you. You heard that they signed it? Okay. Yeah, he kind of does his own thing. So here we go, everybody. A federal grand jury indicted former President Donald J. Trump on 4 counts for conduct that occurred during his presidency, following the November 2020 election. The indictment alleged that after losing that election, Trump conspired to overturn it by spreading knowingly false claims of election fraud to obstruct the collecting, counting, and certifying of the election results. Trump moved to dismiss the indictment based on presidential immunity, arguing that a president has absolute immunity for criminal prosecution for actions performed within the outer perimeter of his official responsibilities, and that the indictment's allegations fell within the core of his official duties. So that's what he's saying. So Trump came in and said, I've got absolute immunity, even for things that are, way down the road. The district court denied Trump's motion to dismiss, holding that former presidents do not possess federal criminal immunity for any acts. The DC, I'll have to think about it. I'm still waiting on that. That's kind of a developing story on whether or not I want to go forward on that one. I want to wait and see what the full charges are once they're set out with the trial information. So we'll see. The D.C. Circuit affirmed. Both the district court and the D.C. Circuit declined to decide whether the indicted conduct involved official acts. So as I take you through this, again, I'm just reading the summary here, everybody. One of the most important things that I believe Roberts had stuck in his face, which is why he decided to hold this way, is this upset Roberts. What made the chief mad was that no one had gone through and explained what official acts were. So without knowing what official acts are here, the Supreme Court's like, well, then how do we know? How do we know if there's absolute immunity or not? So I think this sentence really pulls the key out to the mindset of John Roberts as we go through this. Right, outer perimeter. So here's the holding. Under our constitutional structure of separated powers, the nature of presidential power entitles a former president to absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for actions within his conclusive and preclusive constitutional authority. And he's entitled to at least presumptive immunity from prosecution for all his official acts. So before we get too far, let's talk real quick. We've got presumptive immunity, and anytime there's a presumptive immunity situation, it means the prosecutors need to come in and show that presumption is not available. All right. So a lot of people are saying, well, he can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. He cannot. And there is some immunity for criminal, but on the other part of it, this presumptive immunity can be proven to not exist if the prosecutor does their job properly. What does mean? Preclusive? So we're talking about maybe preclusive. Let's see. Oh, thank you. All right, so that's what we're talking about here. It doesn't mean it can't be done. It means that the prosecutor needs to come in and show, well, we don't have a presumptive immunity situation here because of 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we go. So he's entitled to at least presumptive immunity from prosecution for all his official acts. Again, that's something that can be easily proven by a competent prosecutor. There's no immunity for unofficial acts. So this is another thing, everybody. All right. If he is charged with some kind of a crime, all right, a criminal act that is not part of his official duties, he can be charged. All right. So let me say this again. Even as the president of the United States, if he was just, let's put up a fact pattern, all right? Let's say that he's run away from Secret Service and he's decided to go hop in a car and go to McDonald's. And on the way, he runs over somebody, all right? That's a fact pattern. That means, yes, he can be charged with that, because going to McDonald's is not part of his official duties. There's also not a presumptive immunity either. And he might say, well, I am the president. I'm always the president, even in the car, even when I'm eating my McDonald's. But according to the court here, that is not a situation where immunity would be granted. And therefore, the criminal charge could be done because it's not his official act. What does reclusive mean there? I'm not sure. Let me see if I can, hold on a minute. We'll put that to the side here. We have preclusive and reclusive, I understand, but we have some things that are ahead of time versus at the time, also in preparation for versus not in preparation for. All right. Preclusive. Okay. All right. Well, Andrea, hold on. Come at me here at the end when we do Q&A. All right. So I don't forget. So come back and ask me that later. So that's what we're talking about here. There is no immunity for unofficial acts. Now, as we go through the rest of this overview real quick, we'll talk about what's official act, what's not an official act, the outer perimeter of an official act. We'll kind of talk about that too. But there is no immunity for unofficial acts. So driving in the car, going to Mickey D's at 2:00 in the morning is not an official act unless he's going there to meet somebody. You know, maybe he's going in there to meet with the CIA. Now there could be immunity involved. But if he's just going there to give himself a sandwich, you know, or whatever it is they serve at McDonald's, that's not part of his official duties, and he can get charged. Is everybody following me on that one? Everybody following me on that? There might be extenuating circumstances that require immunity. Well, let me give you a really good example of what we're probably going to see and what Mr. Trump, in my prediction, is going to be. I would say one of the biggest threats or one of the biggest problems here is that, so he has presidential immunity for official acts. One of his official acts that he can do is pardons, right? So he can pardon anybody that's convicted of a federal crime, not state crimes. So what would happen if he's in the Oval Office talking to the chief of staff or the chief of, you know what I'm saying? So he's talking to one of his people that works for him. And he says, you know, I need you to go to McDonald's at 100 miles an hour and get me a burger. And so they do that. And a whole bunch of people get run over. All right. Because we're in crazy taxi land here. So they get run over. And then he comes back and he's like, you know, I was just trying to get him a burger. Sorry, I know some people, you know, were gone, but I was just trying to get him a burger. So what can happen then is that Mr. Trump can come in and pardon the offenses. So that's really where we might have a situation where it seems like he's abusing his power of pardon by handing them out to somebody who clearly did something wrong, but is like his buddy. So if that's the situation, there's no way to charge the president criminally for how he hands out the pardons. All right. That is the best example that I can give you. We cannot charge him criminally for giving out pardons. That's part of his job. Or if he is working on some treaties with a foreign government and put something in there like, you know, and I need 10 cows, you know, transported for something that's illegal. All right. And so they're like, we're not going to give you 10 cows. He can't get sued for that. And he also can't go to jail for that. All right. So his basic duties here, when we're talking about the president, treaties, pardon power, even the powers or the ability to do tariffs was given to him by Congress. That's a statutory thing. It's not actually in the Constitution. So if he does something that's real shady involving treaties or pardons, we can't go criminally after him because those are protected with this immunity. But if it's something else, it's possible he could get charged if it's not an official act. All right? He will communicate with foreign countries now, not as president. Well, I mean, it's fine. Anybody can talk to a foreign country as long as you're not changing America policy. He's already doing that by all the conflicts of interest in his cabinet. Possibly, conflict of interests aren't good, and it's a problem. But again, nobody has officially been sworn in yet, so technically no crime has occurred at this point. But if you can wrap your mind around the fact that he's only got a handful of actual constitutional duties as president, his official duties, it's only a handful. Everything else can be charged, all right? Everything else can be charged. It's worth it. Can Congress go after him for that stuff? Yes, they can. They absolutely can. And that's the other thing too, everyone that is in here. He may have immunity from criminal charges, but he does not have immunity from impeachment. So impeachment will go for any high crime and misdemeanor, as the Constitution says. It's just that has to be the road. The impeachment road is the accountability road for what he does as president. And that's what John Roberts wanted. He's like, dude, I don't think that the courts need to get involved in this. If he screws up and does something bad, then that's what impeachment is for. That's what the founding fathers wanted, so they can impeach him. And, I don't care about all these other arguments that maybe he should also go to jail. Like, that's not my problem. What I'm saying is, if the president does something in his official duties that is wrong, a high crime or misdemeanor, that's when Congress comes in and impeaches him. That's what that's for. So that's the whole premise that Roberts is going off of here. All right. So I think we got that sorted a little bit. That's what's going to do him in impeachment. Well, right. So, and we have to remember too, won't do anything to go against. You never know. You just never know, everybody. You never know with Congress. Congress is like a jury. It's 50-50. Are they going to do something okay? Are they going to do something bad? Are they going to do nothing? You just really never know. If they want, well, perhaps. All right, so let's dive into the next piece down here. So clarifying this again. There is no immunity for unofficial acts, all right? An unofficial act would be signing a check to your prior attorney who paid a porn star for you so she wouldn't talk about you. That would be the idea of an unofficial act is right there. Like, put that into the dictionary, all right? Doesn't matter that he was in the Oval Office. It matters he was paying his attorney back for paying Stormy Daniels. That is not an official act. All right. All right, here we go. This case is the first criminal prosecution in our nation's history of a former president for actions taken during his presidency. Determining whether and under what circumstances such a prosecution may proceed requires careful assessment of the scope of presidential power under the Constitution. The nature of that power requires that a former president have some immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts during his tenure in office. Again, everybody, he's saying some immunity. He's not saying absolute immunity. And that matters. That really matters here. This is the Supreme Court. He's not saying absolute immunity. And that matters. That really matters here. This is the Supreme Court's holding. They're not saying everything. They're saying some. And that really makes a difference. And then next, at least with respect to and we'll flip again. I'm just going through the summary here. President's exercise of core constitutional powers, this immunity must be absolute. So in here we have core constitutional powers versus over here, the nature of power requires a former president have some immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts, right? But absolute immunity for his core official acts. So they're making that distinction. As for his remaining official acts, he's entitled to at least presumptive immunity. So they're splitting the immunity into two pieces. If it's a core and absolute job, like pardons, then that immunity from criminal prosecution is there. Anything that is remaining unofficial duty, but not a core power, is going to have presumptive immunity that can be overcome by a prosecutor. So next, Article 2 of the Constitution vests executive power in a president of the United States of America. The president has duties of unrivaled gravity and breadth, whatever. His authority to act necessarily stems from either from an act of Congress or from the Constitution itself. And they're citing the Youngstown Sheet case. So this particular case, everybody, was back when President Truman was like upset because steelworkers were going to go on strike. They could not come to a collective bargaining agreement. They tried. The president even gave them volunteers to come in and be like, hey, what do you guys want? They could not work out a deal. They just couldn't do it. And so the steelworkers were like, hey, we're going on strike. And Truman's like, whoa, we got stuff going on in Korea, so we can't have our steel not being made. So he told his Secretary of Commerce, I need you to go into all of the steel mills and take them over. And so the Secretary of Commerce is like, all right. So they go to the steel mills. They're like, well, this is ours now. And they're like, that's not right at all. And filed a claim, right? Filed a lawsuit. It went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court within just a few days. And the U.S. Supreme Court said to Truman, dude, this is not how we settle labor disagreements. You do not have the authority under an executive order to take possession of other people's property in order to sort out a labor dispute so that your war powers won't be affected negatively. So they were like, this executive order is denied. And this is the pivotal case putting restrictions on presidential power and explaining we have three branches of government. If Congress had gone in and said, we're taking those steel mills, that would have been fine. But the president doing it didn't have authority. So that's how that came down. So this key case that I could probably talk about a lot, but I'm not going to. In the latter case, the president's authority is sometimes conclusive and preclusive. Here, when the president exercises such authority, Congress cannot act on and courts cannot examine the president's actions. It follows that an act of Congress, either a specific one targeted at the president or a generally applicable one, may not criminalize the president's actions within his exclusive constitutional power. And again, that exclusive constitutional power is very, very specific. We're talking treaties, we're talking pardons, those kinds of things. Even this idea of a lot of people have his role is to make sure that the laws are followed in the United States. So we kind of have this broad category of upholding the law, and they try to sneak things in there. But the Supreme Court has said, no, you're not going to be able to just come in and say, well, I'm trying to uphold the laws and do whatever you want. We're not going to allow that. We have multiple cases saying that here. So keep that in mind as well. Neither may the courts adjudicate a criminal prosecution that examines such presidential action. The court thus concludes the president is absolutely immune from criminal prosecution for conduct within his exclusive sphere of constitutional authority. That's it. And constitutional authority is just like this big. It's tiny. It's very, very small, very restricted. All right. And that is just written right into the Constitution under Article 2. So let's take a look here real quick under Article 2. Article 1 does go on a bit. Article 3, Article 2. Here we go. Vested in a president, he shall hold his office, blah, blah, blah. The Electoral College is here. Here's the restrictions. He needs to get paid. The president shall be the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states. So that's like the National Guard. When called into actual service of the United States, he may require the opinion in writing of principal officers in each of the executive department, that's his cabinet, upon any subject relating to the duties of their respective offices, and he shall have power to grant reprieves. So that's a constitutional one there. He's got immunity for granting reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. So even his pardon power has limitations on it. He shall have power by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur. And he shall nominate and by and with the advice of consent of the Senate shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and so on. So these are his core constitutional powers. Now, half of those powers he has to do with Congress. So they have to do it together. Any of those congressional pieces, he's not going to be able to have full immunity on because he's sharing that power with Congress. All right, what about overriding Senate approval of his nominees? Yeah, that's not a thing. It's not a thing. The Senate has to approve. If the Senate doesn't approve, he's got to bring somebody else in. He can't override it. Unlike how a lot of state governments have this situation where the governor's veto or something can be overridden. We don't do that at the federal level. We just don't do it. We don't have it there. Declare martial law. He can't. All right. The president of the United States cannot declare martial law. All right. Congress has to be involved. All right. In order for any of that to happen. So he can't just say, well, we're done. And that's it. We're over. No, it doesn't happen. I think that's maybe the number one question I get. Maybe about 50 to 100 of those questions a day, everybody. So I did do a post on it. You can look it up. All right, next up, we went into Youngstown there. So the latter case president's authority, conclusive and preclusive here. And then we'll move down. It follows that an act of Congress, either a specific one targeted at the president or generally applicable one, may not criminalize the president's actions without his exclusive constitutional power. Neither may the courts adjudicate a criminal prosecution that examines such presidential actions. So they're like, we don't even want to hear about it. The court thus concludes that the president is absolutely immune from criminal prosecution for conduct within his exclusive sphere of constitutional authority, which is a very small sphere. All right. Finding that question. Oh my gosh, I know. I tell you what, it's a valid question. It's a valid question, and the rhetoric out there is just absolutely bonkers. But yeah, our martial law works a little bit different here. We're a very different story than, another country. Many countries, it's like if the president declares martial law, it's like, boom, you're done. Or even we saw in South Korea, like kind of. But our martial law works different here. We're a different breed over here because of how things are written in the Constitution. All right. Now, not all the president's official acts fall within his conclusive and preclusive authority. All right, so there are some acts that don't fall into that immunity category. The reasons that justify the president's absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for acts within the scope of his exclusive constitutional authority do not extend to conducts in area where his authority is shared with Congress. So this is what I was talking about. When I was going through Article 2 and we were talking about with Congress's understanding or with Congress's approval, anything like that in Article 2, that breaks his immunity. So he will not have immunity if Congress needs to be involved in whatever action he's doing. Those, then, he can be criminally prosecuted for. Tea break, thank you. My poor vocal cords haven't completely come back yet. We're scared of his Congress is just going to agree with him on everything. Well, Mel, that's a valid fear. I think all of those fears are absolutely valid, right? And I'm holding on here with both hands, just explaining what the law is. But I guess the way I can describe it is I can tell you to drive on the right side of the road and the speed limit's 70. But if you decide to drive on the other side of the road and go way over the speed limit, like there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm like, here's what the law is. But if he chooses to drive on the other side of the road, there's not much I can do. Oh my gosh. I know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. I think, if anyone heard Obama's speech just a couple days ago, and he said it's really difficult when you have someone that refuses to follow the rules. And, what do? Well, you hold the line then until they're gone. Murray, don't confess anything. Just say you were holding that side of the road for a friend. All right, here we go. Let me make sure I've got, right, does not extend, right. So, to determine the president's immunity in this context, the court looks primarily to the framers' design of the presidency within the separation of powers. Precedent on presidential immunity in civil context, which is going to be that stupid Fitzgerald case, and criminal cases where a president resisted prosecutorial demands for documents, which is U.S. v. Nixon here. So they're going to take a look at that and the original framers of the Constitution, right? So we're going to get into kind of the Federalist Papers stuff, which is, it's very dry. You like to retract your last comment. That's probably best. That's best, Murray. So originally, let's keep in mind, we had 3 original discussions. Here's a little extra history for you, everybody. There was the first thing, because nobody knew what they wanted to have as head of the executive branch. So we had one discussion on, we're going to have an executive committee that makes these decisions. So rather than one president, it's going to be a handful of people. This is, I believe it was Benjamin Franklin, actually, that wanted to do the executive committee route. Then there was, there was like a leader, so a one-person leader situation, but it was for life. So this would be more of like a king monarchy situation. This is what Hamilton wanted. All right. So, and then at the very end, we had one leader here and every 4 years. So that's what was decided on. So these were the big debates where they were going out and, it was freaking hot in Philadelphia and they were all going out and drinking a lot. And they're like, let's have a committee. And Hamilton's like, no, let's have a forever post. So he doesn't have to worry about, running for politics again. He can just do whatever he wants. And then Madison's like, are you out of your mind? We're not doing that. One leader, 4 years, and you should be thankful. So that's how that works. Still have to go through Congress. Well, this was just an original proposal before we even had the details of what the Congress was going to look like. So this was in the early days before anything was really written down. This was more of kind of the talk that they were interested in here. Yeah, Hamilton, well, Curtis, it's interesting because he didn't say the word, he didn't technically say king, but he did use monarchy a few times. And people were like, I'm sorry, what? What are you saying that for? So, yeah, leader for life. And actually, Hamilton wanted the senators to be life roles. So, and I think that's what they've got in the UK, right? Like the Lords, don't they have the Lords side and then the Commons side, I think? Which, quite frankly, that's not very nice. But they're like there forever. I may be wrong, but that's what Hamilton wanted. He said the whole Senate should be there for life. The president person should be there for life. And then the people can pick the Congress, House of Representatives. Because, oops, puzzle piece, everybody. Because, and this is one of my favorite things about Hamilton, everyone, and I know you all are wondering. My favorite thing about Hamilton was his number one fear was the mob. The mob of people who are uneducated, do not pay attention, do not care what's happening, and just gather together to make trouble. He called those people the mob. So he said, what can we do to protect our government from the mob taking it over and voting and doing various things that would screw up the government? So he called it the mob. And so that's why he was like, let's give them the least amount of opportunities to screw it all up. Yeah, Cody, pretty much. Most fears were unfounded. Yeah, I know, right? I know. So now all of us now are looking back like, Hamilton, we should have been listening to you, man. But anyway, I digress. the point was here, John Roberts, right, is trying to come in and say what the founders wanted to have happen here. So he has looked through, and he probably knows this history as well. So I'm just kind of giving a little bit of background there. So, the framers' design of the presidency, which again was very heatedly debated. And so, again, one of the big pieces was Madison wanted the language in Article 2 to be vague. He wanted it to have a vagueness to it so generations coming in later could add more details and more requirements. It wasn't supposed to be the end all. Article 2 or any of the Constitution, that was the starting point. We just haven't added much to it. Need to time travel. I agree. All right, here's the next one. The framers designed the presidency to provide for a vigorous and energetic executive. And this is under Federalist Paper number 70 here by Alexander Hamilton, which again, anytime you come across Hamilton's Federalist Papers regarding Article 2, you have to keep in mind that his way of thinking, he was trying to convince everybody to have a lifelong term for whoever was in charge. And some people forget about that. So just, that's kind of a key. So when they're citing Alexander Hamilton, they're citing someone that wanted a monarchy. All right. Next, they vested the president with supervisory and policy responsibilities of utmost discretion and sensitivity. And that's Nixon v. Fitzgerald, my least favorite case of all time. Appreciating the unique risks that arise when a president's energies are diverted by proceedings that might render him unduly cautious in the discharge of his official duties. So in Nixon v. Fitzgerald, that was a civil case where Nixon had fired somebody and that somebody came back and sued him later. And the court said, no, you can't do that because he fired you because, the job that you had, he could fire you from, and he shouldn't have to worry about getting sued for firing people when he's president. So that's kind of that. Was that because he wanted Washington in power? No, I think he truly, for Hamilton, truly his fear, and it's understandable if you know a little of the history of Hamilton. Does anyone know a little bit about Hamilton? But if you look at the history, he's had some problems with the mob, with the uneducated rabble-rousers kind of ruining things for people. So I think that was truly, truly what his intent was. He really just didn't want to give power over to everyone as like a true democracy. None of them did. Nobody wanted a true democracy. They were all like, that's rubbish. I mean, a republic's bad enough, but we can't do a true democracy because there was a clear understanding that people that were not landowners, highly educated, wealthy, anyone except for those, people coming in could ruin the government because they had no value, essentially. That's how they thought of it at the time. He wanted an educated leader. True. Yeah. And again, this whole idea of everybody getting a chance to vote or getting a chance to have a say was absolutely, just forget about it. And even the House of Representatives, those people would only be elected by the landowners in their states. So that's, no women, no person that was not, high on the top of the pyramid, which is weird because he was so poor. Well, and that's interesting, Superstar. I think it's because he was poor and looks around. What you tend to see happen psychologically, this is just my guess, is that if you kind of come from a really difficult background like that, then you tend to be absolutely against that background in some ways. Let me give you an example. Probably one of the best examples I could give you is going to be Steve Miller. Everybody remember Steve Miller? Kind of that weird little bald guy. I don't know what I can't describe him. So Stephen Miller, if you look at his biography and you see his parents and his family and where he came from, his actions go absolutely opposite of how he was raised. So that's one of those examples of how you grow up is not how you want to live your life. So it's the same. and very, very similar. And that can really happen. And I think that's what happened with Hamilton. All right, here we go. The court recognized presidential immunities and privileges rooted in the constitutional tradition of the separation of powers and supported by our history. In Fitzgerald, for instance, the court concluded that a former president's entitled to absolute immunity from damages liability for acts within the outer perimeter of his official responsibility. So let me pause for a minute. If you hear that the President of the United States has absolute immunity from lawsuits for stuff he did when he was president, is that okay? Is that level of absolute immunity okay? Do we agree with that the president can't be sued for stuff he does that's official duties? I'm curious. Should that be okay? Are we okay with that? Yes or no? Yes, he should not ever be sued for doing stuff. It depends. You sound like a lawyer. Frivolous lawsuits. No. Should he be immune? Should he be immune from being sued? No, he shouldn't. He shouldn't be immune. No. Should he be immune? Should he be immune from being sued? No, he shouldn't. He shouldn't be immune. Yes. Okay, we have a little bit of a yes. But mostly no. It's looking like no's. Okay. Well, let me take it one step further then. No total immunity. Yeah, it's sketchy, isn't it? Let me take it one step further then. No total immunity. Yeah, it's sketchy, isn't it? Let me take it. Let's say that you are a police officer. All right. And you do something while you're on duty trying to handcuff somebody and cause extra damage. Can you be sued for that? Can you be sued to handcuff somebody and you cause extra damage? Can you be sued for that? Can you be sued for harm as a cop that you did while you were handcuffing somebody? Because that's your job. That's your core job, is to handcuff somebody. So should you be able to be sued? Yes. Okay. Yes. Sue the cop. So, okay. So the analysis, everybody, is the President of the United States, you're saying, should be able to be sued for anything that he does. And police officers, again, should be able to be sued. But police officers are not always sued, right? Because they have qualified immunity. Because of the qualified immunity doctrine. Okay. Qualified immunity. So essentially what the Fitzgerald case did was give the President of the United States essentially qualified immunity from lawsuits. And that's also what's going on here. Even though they're using that word absolute, what it's turning into is a qualified immunity analysis. Right, intentional versus incidental. Right. Well, and of course you can argue it out in court. In the middle of a legal battle with the sheriff's department. Oh, yeah. And of course you can argue it out in court. In the middle of a legal battle with the sheriff's department. Oh, yeah. I'm not for or against qualified immunity, but I think it's easier to understand what's happening in this immunity case if you... Oh, yeah. I'm not for or against qualified immunity, but I think it's easier to understand what's happening in this immunity case if you twist it into a qualified immunity question. So if he is performing his job and his duties, he will be immune from being charged criminally or from being called out civilly. And that is what happens with our law enforcement and with our FBI and with, your state law enforcement. They all have these protections, but the President of the United States did not have that protection until the Fitzgerald case and then until this case that came out in July. Can be sued if you act outside of the law. Exactly, Murray. Exactly. And that's what they're saying here too. If he is outside of the law, if he's not doing something that's within the purview of his required job, then that immunity isn't going to be there. Now, again, I'm not saying I agree. In fact, I do not agree. I do not agree with this decision. But, right. Step out of a proof. Right, exactly. So what I'm trying to say too, though, is that we're not looking at total and complete absolute immunity. Those words are getting tossed around a lot because of the legal standards that they mean when they're referencing back to other precedent. But we're not saying there's absolutely no way you could be charged. We're just saying you will be immune in certain situations. Just like our police are immune in certain situations and our prosecutors are immune in certain situations. All right. So that's really what's the theory, the legal, the legal force behind this holding. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Back to it here. Immunities, right, rooted in constitutional tradition and so on. In Fitzgerald, the court concluded a former president is entitled to absolute immunity from damages liability for acts within the outer perimeter. We got to prove that of his official responsibility. That outer perimeter verbiage came from the Fitzgerald case. All right. Of his official responsibility. The court's dominant concern was to avoid diversion of the president's attention, which I don't think that that's necessarily that good, but during the decision-making process caused by needless worry as to the possibility of damages action stemming from any particular official decision. All right. So, and then that comes out of the Clinton v. Jones case. Again, that's another one of our immunity cases that's very important to remember. By contrast, when prosecutors have sought evidence from the president, the court has consistently rejected presidential claims of absolute immunity. During the treason trial of former Vice President Aaron Burr, for instance, Chief Justice Marshall rejected President Thomas Jefferson's claim that the president could not be subjected to a subpoena. Marshall simultaneously recognized, however, the existence of a privilege to withhold certain official papers. Now, let's just take a minute, everybody, and talk about this, because I think this is important. Do judges determine certain... Yes, exactly right. They come in and have to make that decision, and then it can get appealed over and over and over again until it gets all the way to the top. So one thing I would note here, when he's talking about how John Marshall's like, well, Thomas Jefferson shouldn't be doing that and the other. Thomas Jefferson and John Marshall were not buddies. I mean, they were relatives, but they were not friends. And John Marshall actually worked for John Adams's cabinet, and John Adams and Thomas Jefferson were like nemesis. So in this situation where there have been many quotes where Thomas Jefferson said that Marshall just twisted the law and made it whatever it is he believed he wanted it to be, and that he had way too much power as the chief of the Supreme Court. And Jefferson didn't like it and was trying to expand the court and pull the power away from the court. And Marshall was like, good luck with that. So there's a little background to that one right there. So these two didn't get along. So I'm not sure that that's a fair and accurate case to rely on. And when a subpoena issued to President Richard Nixon, the court rejected the claim of absolute privilege, right? But recognizing the public interest in candid, objective, and even blunt or harsh opinions in the presidential decision-making, it held that a presumptive privilege protects presidential communications. Because that privilege relates to effective discharge of a president's powers, the court deemed it a fundamental to the operation of government and inextricably rooted in the separation of powers under the Constitution. So again, we have this separation of powers discussion that's always ongoing. Criminally prosecuting a president for official conduct undoubtedly poses a far greater threat of intrusion on the authority and function of the executive branch than simply seeking evidence in his possession. The danger is greater than what led to the court to recognize absolute presidential immunity from civil damages liability, that the president would be chilled from taking the bold and unhesitating action required of an independent executive. Although the president might be exposed to fewer criminal prosecutions than civil damages suits, the threat of trial, judgment, and imprisonment is far greater deterrent and plainly more likely to distort presidential decision-making than the potential payment of civil damages. The hesitation to execute the duties of his office fearlessly and fairly that might result when a president is making decisions under a pall of potential prosecution. So he's saying, we don't want you to be worried about making choices because you're afraid you're going to go to jail. Like, all right. And then we're citing the McDonald case here, raises unique risks to the effective functioning of government, but there's also a compelling public interest in fair and effective law enforcement. So again, this law enforcement piece is what we're talking about, this qualified immunity analysis. Is again another way to kind of wrap your mind around it. So also, everybody, too, even with qualified immunity, judges, lawyers, cops do get held responsible for criminal actions. There still are accountability. It's just very hard to meet the qualified immunity, right? So we're now putting that qualified immunity situation into the office of the president because he didn't have it before. There was nothing that was spelled out for that kind of immunity before. Taking into account these competing considerations, the court concludes that the separation of powers principles explicated in the court's precedent necessitate at least a presumptive immunity from criminal prosecution for a president's acts within the outer perimeter of his official responsibility. So we have the core duties, and then we have the outer perimeter duties. Such an immunity is required to safeguard the independence and effective functioning of the executive branch and to enable the president to carry out his constitutional duties without undue caution. At a minimum, the president must be immune from prosecution for official acts unless the government can show that applying a criminal prohibition to that act would pose no dangers of intrusion on the authority and functions of the executive branch. So this is another thing too. This is an exception that the court held here. They're saying, I tell you what, though, if you can find whatever it is that the president had done would not negatively affect the situation, then you can also bring a case. You can also charge if you meet this requirement as well. As for a president's unofficial acts, there is no immunity. So no immunity, although presidential immunity is required for official actions to ensure the president's decision-making is not distorted by the threat of future litigation stemming from those actions. That concern does not support immunity for unofficial acts. Again, those unofficial acts we've kind of been talking about already. And probably the only case that really is clear on official versus unofficial acts is going to be the Court of Appeals out of the D.C. Circuit in the Blessingame case. They're the ones that really got pretty specific about that and did a pretty good job defining that. The separation of powers does not bar prosecution predicated on the president's unofficial acts. So you can still, the president can be charged criminally for actions not within his scope of his job, all right? So yes, the president can be arrested, taken into jail, go through a criminal trial if he's done something criminal outside of the scope of his job. All right, so that's important to remember. But the first step in deciding whether a former president's entitled to immunity from a particular prosecution is to distinguish his official from unofficial acts. In this case, no court thus far has drawn that distinction. In general, or with respect to the conduct alleged in particular, it is therefore incumbent upon the court to be mindful that this is a court of final review and not first view. So this is where he's going off and saying, look, we don't even have definitions for these terms. Who determines the scope? The courts. The courts determine the scope. Yep, this all has to go through the court system as far as defining everything. And that's actually what is happening right now in the Blessingame case. They're doing discovery. They're pulling all their information together because they're going to need to go in front of the judge and argue these were not official acts. He was acting outside of the scope of his job when he did what he did on January 6th. Sorry, everybody. Still struggling a little bit here with with my vocal cords. All right, so that one's here. Critical threshold issues in the case are how to differentiate between a president's official and unofficial actions and how to do so with respect to the indictment's extensive and detailed allegations covering a broad range of conduct. The court offers guidance on those issues. And so this is where SCOTUS decides to be like, well, we'll just let you know what we're thinking of here so that when it comes back in front of us, you'll have some idea, which I think is absolutely inappropriate, but whatever. When the president acts pursuant to the Constitution and statutory authority, he takes official action to perform the functions of his office. Determining whether an action is covered by immunity thus begins with assessing the president's authority to take that action. But the breadth of the president's discretionary responsibilities under the Constitution and the laws of the United States frequently makes it difficult to determine which of his innumerable functions encompassed a particular action. The immunity the court has recognized, therefore, extends to the outer perimeter of the president's official responsibilities, covering actions so long as they are not manifestly or palpably beyond his authority. This means when you have this, that's a legal question that will have to be answered. And they're actually citing that Blessing Game case, everyone, that I was talking about. In dividing official from unofficial conduct, courts may not inquire into the president's motives. So they're pulling that out. We're not allowed to look at the motive, which again is like, why do you get to define the rules here of criminal procedure? But whatever. Such a highly intrusive inquiry would risk exposing even the most obvious instances of official conduct to judicial examination on the mere allegation of improper purpose. So that happened. Nor many courts deem an action unofficial merely because it allegedly violates a generally applicable law. Otherwise, presidents would be subject to trial on every allegation that an action was unlawful, depriving immunity of the intended effect. All right, so I am going to go ahead and stop here at this point, or I will have no voice left. So, but that's really the primary piece to get it started. Yeah, my voice is going out. I'm sorry, everybody. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I've been trying so hard to come back. I've missed doing my live so much. So that's the start. And I do want to keep going through the immunity issue here in this immunity question, because that seems to be one of the top fears for people, is that he's going to be in office and then there's nothing anybody can do to slow it down. Meanwhile, I'm trying to say, look, there is an area here that's been open, a door that's been open. I'm not a fan of it. But on the other hand, it's not terminal. So we have to really take a look at that and the people watching to make sure he's doing his job. Put your health first. Absolutely. But with that, my friends, then I will go ahead. Apologies. Oh my gosh. I will go ahead and rest my voice for tonight. Here's our final picture. We'll rest for tonight. But I do plan to come back as much as possible. Again, this is all about how much voice I have by the time I hop on. But I would like to finish going through this immunity. And of course, I do have my list of things that I have to share with all of you. I'm still working on the Dreamers, the DACA doctrine, as well as P25, and going through and making sure we have all of that information. So little bits at a time. Just be patient with me, everyone, until I'm back to 100%. Oh, thanks, John. I'm working on it. But I had to come on tonight. I just couldn't even stop myself. Check out. Yeah, I should look into that. But have a wonderful night, everybody. I'll be back again very soon. I hope your Wednesday goes wonderful. And I will see you all again very soon. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming. And moderators, of course, thank you for your hard work.